Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Smite Pro League. I'm Tom Battinger, and this is going to be Anatoly Alexeyev. Today, we're one game into a three-game schedule. We're going to look at NRG taking on Obey today. And this afternoon, Toly, I think this one is very interesting because NRG has been very, very strong, 5-2. Obey, less so, but they have been a little bit more exciting than the rest of the year.
Agree with you there. After that last set where Dignitas won, they go up in the standings at 7-1. Rival struggling to try to get into that top two at 4-4. And speaking of NRG and Obey, NRG, after losing the first week to Rival and Dignitas, have won 5 consecutive sets in a row. Obey Alliance struggled in the previous week up against Rival and need to find their victory here if they want to be able to clinch their spot to HRX.
Certainly a thought process there for them and their fans. Dignitas, I think, kind of chilling. NRG, maybe chilling. This is certainly something that they're keeping in mind here. Obey Alliance, they do have the opportunity. And as I said, I sort of alluded to the fact that they on the up and up. This team has been a little bit more exciting to watch as of late, especially if you've watched since the beginning of the season.
Especially in the solo lane, I think Obey Alliance have been able to really flex some of their picks there for Xaliea. Ataraxia has been very calm, quiet, like a true assassin-like hunter almost to an extent, and that's been able to allow Obey to find some of these victories. CaptainTwig playing supportive at times, carrying at times, and that's something that Obey are relying on.
Yeah, no, CaptainTwig has absolutely been a very integral part of what makes this team win, usually on the utility support side of things, playing the Mercury with the Frostbound Hammers or the Osiris's, does have the possibility to look for the damage as well. We've seen the Serqet come out, and of course the Mercury in the other direction. So CaptainTwig, I think more importantly, is just multifaceted, and that's all well and good, but feeding the mid lane. That's how we've seen Obey really take the victory. Across the way, NRG, this has been kind of, again, just a toss back to their old identity. Adapting in the jungle has been kind of the go-to player, whereas the rest of the team just consistently great.
When adapting's mad, the rest of NRG just plays way better. I don't know what it is about that kind of emotion that brings it out of his team, but it definitely helps out. And losing to Rival and Dignitas in week number 1 certainly brought that out of him, brought that out of the rest of his team, because he's making plays like this. Diving your Phoenix with the Bakasura, no cure in the world, up against PrettyPrime's Vulcan in that previous set that they faced off in week number 2.
Obey certainly have a tall task going up against NRG, a team that has 2 world championships technically under their belt. A recent swap in the support role kind of muddies that up a little bit, but the core of the core certainly remain strong. NRG Obey up for game number 1 here, our sandwich set of the day. NRG with the first pick and the first ban. We've seen a lot of love for Baron and a lot of love for Freya thus far.
I agree there, but knowing NRG and knowing the strategy of Obey is PrettyPrime, I think that their NRG is going to focus out some bans potentially, maybe take away the Zeus and the Alpoage, 2 of these immobile mages that PrettyPrime is just loving recently.
Well, I mean, if you want to come at it from a sort of balanced perspective and just from looking in and the way I've seen many other games, usually give up to gain, right? And with these mages, they give up. They can't run or jump or leap, but in turn, they just murder you. And so PrettyPrime taking the hard carries, that's what has allowed Obey to find the wins really strongly recently. Not going to be the case, no Alpoage or Zeus. So, a lot open here. Athena, the first pick for NRG.
That leaves the drum for Obey Alliance if they really want to give that to PrettyPrime. If that's the strategy to give it to them, then they want to select it now before NRG are the ones to select it. But surprisingly enough, Ataraxia has been experimenting a little bit.
The Chiron selected here, first and foremost, and I think that the pick itself perhaps not so surprising, but I think the order in which it's selected. And I understand that NRG have played a little bit of their own Chiron, and NRG have that in their wheelhouse. I don't know if Chiron's going to be first picked or banned or selected.
You just drop the cleanse on top of wherever Athena's dashing. That's the whole game plan, wanting to cleanse that out.
I mean, I get it, but I'm not saying, you know.
Obey have other options. They could have picked Geb if they wanted to find cleanse, Hell potentially to find the cleanse. I agree that Chiron's a little bit early, but we've known to see Yammyn from time to time play that in the mid lane even.
Yes, years and years ago.
I mean, still.
I would be surprised if NRG took it, so I will still think that it's interesting to see it selected this early. But paired up with the Mercury and the Baron Samedi, certainly a lot of control and damage there. Mercury just the pure damage depending on which way CaptainTwig decides to build it this time around. And Baron Samedi, of course, going to be full control in that mage role. Athena paired up with the Morrigan and the Serqet. Double Serqet has been one of the scarier things coming out from the Morrigan play. And with NRG, the Morrigan is not a character that we see all that often out of these guys.
Not so much in Season 5, but Yammyn has been playing it before in the past. In Season 4, a lot. Actually, everyone from Season 4 was playing a lot of Morrigan, so he definitely still remembers how to ride it, kind of like a bike. And with their Guardian still available, because this could be Athena's solo lane, I'll be shocked if I don't see a Terra out of NRG.
Well, it's going to be the Kuzenbo.
Oh.
What made you think towards that Terra?
Morrigan transforming into Terra to get double Earth and Furies is very scary to deal with.
Very true. Nike across the way, certainly an interesting look. NRG get around there, draft out with a Jing. So when Nike jumps in to initiate, Jing will be able to counteract that by way of her agility. Mercury also, when he throws you, certainly a nice look. And Chiron's kickback. There's the Terra across the way, so NRG might not have selected it.
Probably
but they're
not.
still going to have the option.
They should be able to get those late game team fights to fight Earth and Fury with Earth and Fury. Jingwei, I like this selection. Also from NRG, the Airstrike is another great defensive tool to get out of the Baron Samedi ult.
So who's going to win? NRG versus Obey, the simplest of questions to ask you guys out there. I suspect that the court of public opinion will be leaning on the pink and white. NRG has been very successful. Obey is the bottom card here. Do you think that that is close to the truth or not?
I think so. Despite the history of these two teams between spring and summer, Obey winning 3 out of 4 of those sets, the last matchup in week number 2 goes to NRG, and the last 5 wins from NRG is just after their first week losses. So there's something underneath NRG that's giving them this momentum.
I'm with you. It's always nice to look at the stats just for context's sake, but at the end of the day, correlation is not causation. And I think that just because, like you beautifully said, 3 out of 4 doesn't mean they're going to win. And I think that NRG just might be the more powerful team this time around. Who knows, though? I'll tell you who. The 10 players on the field. And, of course, our 2 commentators. It's John Finch and the best of tacos.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you, Totally. We're going into NRG up against Obey. A set made even more important when we consider that Dignitas won earlier. You might only be chasing 1 spot now if you're elsewhere in the region. So NRG absolutely need this win.
Yeah, that last set was a bit of a doozy, I would say, for Dignitas and Rival respectively. But Obey and NRG, I mean, talk about a clash of the titans of Finch, just because these two teams, I don't know if we could still clarify it as a grudge match. I think that we're a little bit past that stage by now, especially since both sides have definitely taken wins off of the other, but definitely still plenty of pride on the line.
I think absolutely, and even more so than pride. I mean, these two teams both still have a shot at that top 2 spot. Right now it does belong to NRG, but Obey, especially with Rival dropping, now feel kind of like that clear 3rd seed if they can win here and try and fight their way up to number 2. But it's not going to be an easy path for any of these teams remaining. Trusting Yammyn on this Morrigan pick here in this game. maniaKK on the Kuzenbo. I know he's winning the fan vote because of that one. But, I mean, are these picks going to be enough for them, Taco?
Probably the very first time I was ever concerned about seeing a Morrigan was because of Yammyn at that DreamHack Valencia LAN, in fact. And it's some spooky stuff out there at times.
Oh yeah, with Morrigan out there, I mean, you got to make sure that you can, rely on it. But certainly Yammyn is one that we can trust to play here at a high level.
I think I'm mixing up him with Zeros too, by the way. But
maybe a little bit.
Yammyn's definitely still out there when it comes to Morrigan.
No, I agree with you, but he is going to be up against Prime on the Baron in the middle lane, and we don't see much of Baron in the middle lane anymore. So often it's felt he didn't have quite enough damage to be your designated magical damage dealer. But Prime is going to be taken to the mid lane, more a mobile mage, if you want to call Baron.
I don't think we really see all that much of Baron in the mid lane either, just because he doesn't have as much survivability there typically. You're expecting the junglers to be going back and forth between duo and mid more so often than they will spend over there in solo. But considering that both teams have relatively safe duo lanes, I would actually like to see Twig and Adapting maybe looking to spend a little bit more time in mid, in fact, and Adapting definitely sure to try and cater to Yammyn's needs, because the one thing you want to see with the Morrigan combination is this Morrigan Serqet.
Ataraxia, though, still piloting the Chiron to the point where he's been able to force out the shell from emilZy. In fact, he's going to use this opportunity to go aggressive, get good damage on Ataraxia in response. Now, emilitoo filled up a little bit, but it's emilZy stunned out, taking more damage. But Ataraxia can't quite follow up aside from the masterful shot. So we'll see if they can find more in this dual lane, which so far seems relatively even.
Ataraxia with a little bit of an advantage because of that Baron's Brew and the Transcendence Rush, giving him just a little bit more in pot sustain compared to emilitoo. Jing can also be very mana hungry during some of her earlier stages. It typically got to wait it out until you've got a couple items before you start noticing it less and less just how much mana you're actually consuming with each of those persistent gusts.
Yeah, it's not just her, right? Jing can have some mana troubles. Even Baron. That's another reason why we don't often see him in the middle lane. To go back and talk a little bit about Prime and Yammyn here and their matchup is that it's kind of nice to be able to have that blue buff when you're playing as Baron, right? Because he relies so much on spamming the abilities to make sure he's able to get that full clear. He is going to be going the Book of Thoth. He'll have a much larger mana pool because of it, so that'll mitigate that somewhat. So we'll see if Prime can navigate his ability usage at a high enough level.
My main worry for Prime is that there is so much dive potential from NRG's composition. You've got emilZy with that Defender of Olympus. Actually, hold that thought. Yammyn going to be missing out on his purification beads, but the same can be said for CaptainTwig.
Wow.
Can't even get the Sonic Boom off in time, and yet it's not over. Still another last breath to come.
They're going to pull Prime in and find one more kill. Two quick ones in the middle lane going the way of NRG. Adapting and Yammyn getting it done. And that was off the aggression from Twig, but really quick beads coming out from Yammyn, and they got the turnaround.
It was just instantaneous. I almost lost track of which was which because Adapting first comes out with an incredible Cobra's Kiss to pull Twig away from regressing onto Yammyn, but the follow-up is where you really have to notice it.
By the way.
Yep. I didn't think I honestly didn't think that it was going to be that abrupt of a finish there for maniaKK.
And ends up going out in the favor of the Kuzenbo. I think he was too disrupted to even be able to get Sentinel of Zeus off if he had it in time. He certainly is level 5 now and has it, but certainly didn't have that extra health when he would have needed it. And maniaKK finds it over there in the solo lane. NRG, hard to imagine getting off to a better start than Adapting, Yammyn, and maniaKK all finding kills on their direct opponents across the way.
But that's exactly what I feel like we're going to continue seeing for the next 20 minutes or so, Finch. Just all of this Yammyn aggression and Adapting aggression, and it's not over just yet. Twig, he's got no beads, and he's got nowhere left to run. His Adapting's going to take him out one more time. Blue buff already down for NRG. emilZy will make sure to collect that one, and Xaliea just forced to jump away.
NRG one more time doing such a good job starting things off in this game. They're even going to be able to invade those back Harpy camps as Prime can't even make it up to his tower. But I get a chance to talk a little bit about something I've been very happy coming back here, Taco. Look at Twig. First item going for this Golden Blade. Let me take a look at it, Doug. Don't hide it from me. Yes, Golden Blade is back. We'll talk about it a little bit here, but iRaffer dropping the Earth in Fury, looking for the fight here and Adapting. Still has ambush to get him up and over the wall and should be out and A-okay.
Great route, though, from PrettyPriMe, and it's not over just yet. emilZy, in fact, could end up getting caught out here. Going to try and juke and weave around this Gold Fury with the horrific emblem right in the mix. No escape this time around for the Athena. No, in fact, I lied. He is actually still on the run. None of the shots connect.
I will not accept it, as somehow he makes it out. In fact, Adapting finds PrettyPriMe on the back end. Now it's Twig who's low. Adapting finds a triple kill somehow in it all, and emilZy makes it back out. NRG Esports come barreling out of the gates.
I can't even begin to imagine what that fight looked like from Obey's perspective, but seeing it from the top-down view, that could not have been more of a catastrophe for Obey.
Oh, yeah.
And everything in NRG's favor right now, including their life RNG. It's not even just the kills that are in their favor, it's just what kind of life RNG do you need to escape a situation like that, emilZy?
Those were just great jukes coming out from him, and I believe he wasn't even facing Ataraxia, so he couldn't have known exactly which way the shots were even coming from when he was inside of that ultimate, so that's just really impressive for him to be able to somehow wiggle his way out of there. He even got life of the party pulled in by Prime and still was able to find room to dash back out.
And I gotta give credit where it's due. emilZy dashing forward, testing the waters there a little bit, emilZy.
What's that reaction time, boys?
I think he just maybe playing tricks with Obey's mindset here, but the only reason why that turnaround was even possible in the first place by the Gold Fury is because of how much Obey just finished expending on emilZy. They went all in to try and find that Athena last hit, that every little bit of their focus, by the time that they realized we still came up short, all of NRG had already come into the fray. They had a chance to collapse because of emilZy bought so much time for them to rotate in, and if that keeps happening, Obey are going to have a lot more to worry about than just an Athena surviving.
Well, emilZy gets the dash off this time. Earth and Fury and the Sonic Boom on land, and they're going to use the life of the party. So again, heavy commit to make sure emilZy dies, and this time he absolutely does. But now Ataraxia might be in trouble. Last Breath should certainly find him. That makes it 1-for-1 support for the Hunter.
And NRG are still going to walk away with the red buff, which is technically a much bigger win. When you break it all down, is Yammyn getting harassed a little bit here by iRaffer. Horrific Emblem. They're looking for the kill now. Yammyn getting slowed even further. Beats finally forced away. Yammyn's trying to wiggle around, buy himself some time for the last hit, but he won't find it. Raffer, he's alive for a moment, but maybe just the moment. No, in fact, adapting. Ambush not going to connect, and Deathbane will get cut short as well.
In fact, he might be in a little bit of trouble now, but Prime not going to chase it out. I think some minions got in the way of the Cobra's Kiss, which could have set that up. But nice return to take down Yammyn on the back end of that for Obey Alliance and try and slow down this surge a little bit. As Twig rotates over, strips away the blue buff, actually gets locked down by the special delivery, but the dash in from emilZy and the taunt brings in Twig, and he finds the kill on the solo side now.
You ever make a life choice and then you regret it instantly?
I'm sure
that
Twig has.
That was Twig. Everything about that moment just... I think as he started running away, he realized, I'm probably not going to get out of this one, and that gave maniaKK, knowing that the special delivery was on cooldown, no hesitation. He can come back in and not be concerned in the slightest, because Xaliea was way too far away by then to try and even bother peeling for Twig, as well as the slow having been expended also from Xalea's ultimate, so there was pretty much no chance of survival there for Twig.
He ended up falling. He used too much just to go for the invade. And then, unfortunately, adapting, I believe, found the return invade onto the blue buff of Xaliea. Looks like maniaKK was able to pick it up, so they didn't find anything there. But he at least went up to go get it started. As now they boxed out. Talisman of Energy coming out. Interesting first item. Not often what we see as that first magical defense item on this side, but certainly strong.
And Finch, I might have to give you some bad news here. I don't think Golden Blade is worth it for Mercury.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love Golden Blade. I don't know. I mean, unless you're, like, laning with it, how much does it really increase the clear speed? I mean, it does help, yes, but I just don't know if that splash, it's old Golden Bow, does it give you enough?
You're already full clearing the buffs.
Right.
I actually hold that thought though, because right now they're trying to full clear Xaliea back to the fountain. Nice job by adapting, but Xaliea with the perfect timing on that ultimate, gonna be able to buy himself just a little bit more time here.
He was very patient with it, but Xaliea looks like emilZy doesn't have that taunt available just yet, but no help is coming now. Terra and the Baron are on their way to make sure that Xaliea absolutely will make it back out alive.
One last leap away just to confirm it. And going back to that original Golden Blade discussion, Finch, it's my main gripe with this item is just that it's a fairly cost-effective item as far as I'm concerned. I believe it's like 2,300 gold.
Right.
And the problem is that by the time you finish it, you're full clearing the buffs with the Meiji look anyway. It doesn't really provide much stats that would be justified over a Hasten Katana or even a Stone Cutting Sword. A little bit more gold investment for Stone Cutting, obviously, but the benefit that you receive in the long term is just a much better investment process here, and I just don't think that CaptainTwig is going to get much bang for his buck off of this Golden Blade.
We'll see if he can make it work. Xaliea not going to have Sentinel of Zeus to help him out this time, and that will spell his end. In fact, the blue buff going to fall as well. maniaKK is able to come join adapting and grab it relatively easily. But I'm right there with you. As much as I love Golden Blade, just personally for me, because I used to be a Golden Bow merc, that kind of person that, no one wants to be around. I don't know if it's as good here, but I mean, Twig has been doing his own build pass for a while now, not exactly what everyone else is doing. He can make, if anyone can make it work, I'm sure Twig can.
Well, he's got to figure out something fast because adapting is rapidly pulling away from him on this one. 2 levels up already and a part of 8 out of the 10 kills that have taken place here for NRG. Although I will admit, that Gold Fury fiasco for Obey, those were pretty much 3 soft kills handed into the likes of NRG. So not entirely a loss for Obey so far. I think that there's definitely still chances for recovery here. It's just going to be a very steep climb for them.
And not going to be easy. But to talk a little bit more about Twig's build, it is a lot of movement speed, which Mercury does want anyway, you know, by the way of power for him, so it definitely works out that way for him. So I definitely get the idea that Twig is going for here. He has to make sure he can stay relevant. Like you said, he's taken 4 spills already. He's kind of been the one that's caught the brunt of this early aggression from NRG so far. And if he ends up falling behind, it might not matter how fast he is.
A great sonic boom can change the outcome of just about any team fight. So if Twig is on point with his patience and his aiming of the sonic boom, then I think he could still provide a lot of assistance to Obey in some of these engagements. But for right now, Twig, as well as adapting, I think that's why we see NRG going so aggressive into Obey's jungle, because they know how starved Twig is of farm right now, and they want to keep it that way. They want to keep this Mercury as suppressed for as long as possible. And speaking of which, they're just going to expand that lead even further as NRG take down the Gold Fury uncontested. Obey, even if they want to contest it, I don't think they would have been able to make it to the area in time.
It was just good recognition from NRG that really no one from Obey was even nearby. They've got some good wardings on that side, especially around the red buff. Knew that a lot of people from Obey were backed up, especially Ataraxia. He was backed by purple at the closest, I think, during that Gold Fury siege. Really, they were never in any trouble. But this blue buff could be important. Adapting wants to be here for it again, but Twig is on his way. So is PrettyPriMe, but Twig already incredibly low. Last breath comes down. Defender of Olympus is enough. They dunk him, and that's a nice, easy kill for NRG.
2 Athenas at once, in fact. Yammyn as well, transforming into the Athena for the double Defender of Olympus damage proc.
Seems like a lot.
That is a lot.
Maybe they didn't need both.
What if... I can't tell if it's what they were originally intending. I don't think Yammyn ult until after the fact. And hold that thought. Adapting actually ends up canceling out his ambush, leaving the kill up to maniaKK to try and find.
Ataraxia now inside the ultimate, gonna look for some return shots. Life of the party is just barely out of range and won't find anyone. He'll use it to reposition, but Yammyn eliminates iRaffer. Ataraxia is very low, but just barely survives. Twig was considering a sonic boom, but couldn't find an angle. NRG find another kill, and are able to fall back safely yet again.
Adapting didn't have a chance to make that weave on the Deathbane a little bit tighter. He just wanted to get in, get out. If the Deathbane was able to finalize the kill off of the single Cobra's Kiss poison proc, then awesome. If not, no worries. We'll wrap back around the next time, because that's Ataraxia without purification beads now.
That is going to be a big win for them. Can we see the charts? I want to take a look at the experience deficit to go along with the gold. We already know that NRG are pretty far out in front in terms of gold, but 8,000 experience. That might even be a bigger issue at this point in the game. It's just the big level disparities. And it's not so much that anyone's behind like 5 levels. It's that everyone's behind like 2 or so levels each right now to the matchups. Right now, NRG are farming so efficiently. They even want this Pyromancer.
There's just no time to think for Obey.
Yeah.
Once they start analyzing where their next method of attack should be, it just feels like NRG are already there and beating them to the punch. Speaking of which, emilZy getting punched on right now by CaptainTwig. But those autos feel like they might as well be doing nothing at all to this Athena.
Some of them actually do, which is to get those block stacks out. So it's not going to be easy for Twig to find this Athena as the game goes on. But so far, Taco, NRG have just had all the pressure. They've been repeatedly stealing buffs, finding picks. What has been the catalyst for this early aggression for him? Has it just been adapting?
All of it escalated, honestly, around that Gold Fury fight. I think that things were starting to spiral a little out of control. It's like the mini snowball. It was really just the snowball effect. It starts out really tiny, and then that Gold Fury engagement just escalated everything way too rapidly for Obey. And ever since then, it feels like they've just kind of been functioning on, not necessarily, I don't want to call it a delay, because Obey have been trying to respond. It's just that NRG are making it very difficult for Obey to feel like they're having much of an impact in these responses because of how well timed NRG's executions are.
emilZy dashes in, iRaffer's the target, sonic boom, hits 2, Earth and Fury does come out, and iRaffer still standing for now, though Adapting and emilitoo are going to make quick work of that and bring him down. But now for the disengage, Twig has to blink, Xaliea comes back in, Sentinel Zeus hits 3, and Yammyn can't even make much of the transformation, Xaliea with a response kill.
emilZy recognizes that he has to get out of there as soon as possible, so maniaKK gonna end up watery graving away, and Xaliea won't be able to stop emilZy's back this time around. Defender of Olympus is up, however, and I expect they'll be ulting in any second now because NRG are not willing to let this T1 go for free.
Not at all. Twig gets hit by one Cobra's Kiss. emilZy looks for the taunt. Adapting goes in on the backside of the Twig, but can he make it back out? Ambush lets him leave, and Twig falls one more time. Adapting, punishing the opposing jungler. 0-6-2, not letting him have a good time at all.
I think that Adapting's last breath might have just came back up off cooldown there too, so really unfortunate timing there for Twig. And with his 6th death, they'll finally be able to finish off that rage he's been working on for some time now. But emilZy could be in trouble here.
Absolutely.
Horrific emblem from iRaffer, nicely done.
That is going to slow down emilZy, but they just don't have the lockdown to try and put enough damage into this Athena, not at this stage in the game. Sovereignty finish, Gauntlet of Thebes as well. Plenty of tankiness going emilZy's way, and not going to be an easy target.
But just look at how NRG spreads the map so effortlessly. At first they're aggressing in mid lane, sure, and while the engagement's still somewhat taking place in mid with emilZy distracting in a sense, you've got maniaKK immediately heading right on over to solo side tower, trying to chip away at this T1. The sooner this tower falls as well, the sooner that maniaKK can start rotating and having even more of an impact in these engagements, and the more problematic it's going to become for Obey, because the other parts of the map haven't been as affected yet, I would say. I don't think that Ataraxia is really in too much of harm's way lately, and iRaffer's done a pretty decent job at keeping up with emilZy also, both of them hovering within about a level of the other, but it's just starting to become very problematic at too quick of a pace for Obey.
Gold Fury one more time grabbed by NRG Esports. That should mark their second one of the game now at this point. They're up 14-3 in the kills, 8,000 gold, and the same amount of experience. Very quickly this one got away from them. It has not yet translated into towers. All the tier 1s still standing on both sides. Obey have at least been able to defend that. But really, it kind of feels like at any point, NRG could start grouping and forcing them down as maniaKK gonna chase CaptainTwig on the right-hand side. He's got everybody on his team coming, so why not?
He's forcing the fight because he knows that Adapting's ready to blink over the wall. Twig gonna actually end up dashing into the tower to try and get away, but will end up killing himself, I believe, from the Sonic Boom onto the Shell Spike proc.
And that means that that's gonna do it. We'll see CaptainTwig in a little while. 30-second timeout for him. As NRG are still relatively spread, they haven't grouped up and decided where to go yet. Adapting puts in some damage onto the tier 1, whereas maniaKK controls Xaliea. emilZy is along with Yammyn in the mid lane, and that tier 1 in right should come down in a moment. But Sentinel Zeus is good from Xaliea to bait out a bit of an overcommit from Adapting. Now the tier 1 tower goes down, but Xaliea just follows him.
Xaliea will finally manage to take down Adapting as maniaKK cleans up the T1 tower there in solo, and mostly it's a relief. That's 40 seconds now because Twig's just about to respawn, and this is his time to try and collect as much farm as possible because NRG have been gunning for Twig since the start of this match. This feels like an anti-Mercury composition because it is an anti-Mercury composition. You've got emilZy and maniaKK who are both on excellent gods for preventing Mercury from wanting to initiate, and furthermore, even killing himself on maniaKK if he invests a little bit too deeply without any backup from the rest of Obey. So Twig has just had so much trouble, I think, finding a moment alone. We'll probably be pretty happy to collect Adapting's speed buff, however.
But to be honest, he's not too far behind Adapting, at least in terms of experience, despite how far behind he's been. It's been about 2 levels or so all game. So that's about all they were able to find. So we'll see if they can make that one work here for him in just a moment.
And I think that we might actually have a Kuzenbo replay moment from that Sonic Boom off of CaptainTwig. Really excellently timed, too, for maniaKK. He had the Shell Spikes already procced and was just waiting for Twig to try and go for the full investment.
All right, we'll come right back here on the back end of it. There he is, goes for the reflect and ends up falling. Unfortunately, to maniaKK. Looks like there's action in the middle lane as well. PrettyPriMe ends up falling on the Baron. Yammyn is the one that's going to find him. A little bit low on the back end of it, but they're going to look for iRaffer. Good poke they put onto him and force him back as emilZy controls Xaliea.
emilZy still looking to push forward into Xaliea even further, by the way. Xaliea does still have that Nike ultimate to expend, however, and Adapting. Nice double taunt. Going to end up pulling out Ataraxia's purification beads and almost taking emilZy for another ride. In fact, it's emilitoo who finds iRaffer throughout all of this craziness.
Ends up locking him down thanks to the stun from Yammyn to get the whole thing started. CaptainTwig finds a double kill on the backside, though. emilitoo and Yammyn, both of the carries go down. Twig, he may have been struggling for a while, but knows how to have the impact. Taunted back in. maniaKK is nearby, but they don't have the damage. The Kappa's right there, but they're slow with a masterful shot, and CaptainTwig makes it out.
Nice peel there from Ataraxia also, making sure to
fight.
stick around in the area. That's why you don't really ever see pros backing. No matter how low their HP thresholds are, if they have mana, they're probably still looking to fight most of the time.
And I think that NRG, as well as they have been playing, and they've been getting Gold Furies, they've been doing buff invasion, everything like that's been very good, but it's been a little bit around these towers where it's been just a little bit not as cohesive as the rest of them. Is the call to all in for the fight and just tank the tower, or is it to go for the tower? You see some people hitting it, some people looking for fights. They overcommit into it when they don't immediately find the kills too. That part could maybe be like a little bit better, but I mean, it's hard to complain when they're up 8,000.
I think a good way to gauge what exactly NRG's mindset is as well is to just keep track of Yammyn's transformations. Typically, whatever Yammyn is transforming into, if he's going for damage, it means that they're willing to take up a team fight. Or sometimes he even just looks for raw setup potential. We've seen a couple of Athena transformations already. We have seen a Baron transformation as well. Borrowing that life of the party there from PrettyPriMe. So I think that Yammyn has been a pretty good indicator so far as to what NRG is trying to accomplish every time they go in, because whenever Yammyn has gone for the setup gods like Athena and Baron, we have seen NRG aggressing onto the structures as opposed to just looking for a direct team fight.
Could be one to follow along with Yammyn in these fights. The tier 1 tower for NRG in the duo side has already gone down. It looks like CaptainTwig might even be trying to threaten the tier 2. The rest of the squad, though, grouping around the Fire Giant. Twig looks like he is going to try and come join the fray. His Fire Giant pulled now by NRG. iRaffer's moving in to try and deter, whereas maniaKK and Xaliea fight on the back end. Adapting, blinks in, doesn't find much. No, never mind. They actually get a big ultimate on the back end of that, would appear.
NRG have to make a decision here. Twig's already gotten away with taking down not just the T1 tower, but the T2 also, and there hasn't been any direct confrontation yet from NRG. It seems like they wanted to go in there for a second there onto Obey, but then they all kind of just pulled back. It was also a nice disengage from Obey in order to prevent NRG from finding any sort of kills, because while CaptainTwig was pushing, all Obey wanted to do was show face. That way NRG couldn't pull the Fire Giant directly. Now that Twig has taken down the T2 tower, I would imagine that Obey are probably going to have to position themselves a little bit more carefully, because mid and solo lane are both going to be a lot harder for Twig to try and successfully split push.
Yeah, not going to be easy for him when he has to be a little bit closer to the fights. But already a lot of the work has been done. Can we see the charge one more time out? Because it's starting to look like things are coming back into perspective. Now only about 4,200 experience, not nearly as big, especially as we get to some level 20s on the board. 6,000 gold. That's starting to come down too to 6,600. Obey are within striking distance, I would say. Not nearly as far away as they once were, but NRG could change that in a heartbeat by grabbing this Fire Giant.
Oh no, iRaffer's in the wrong part of town. Way behind everybody, gonna end up getting snagged up by that last breath. Terrific emblem just to try and buy himself a little bit more time, and he will get out of the main part of the action for now, but the same can't be said for the rest of Obey.
emilZy gets pulled back into the coffin, though. Life for the party does land the stun, not enough for the kill, but Xaliea is going to slow him, and Xaliea is going to kill him as well. emilZy already out of the action. They lock down maniaKK next with the walls coming out from Terra. Obey Alliance very close to taking down the turtle. He does control Xaliea, but he finds the kill there too. Two quick ones, and Obey are now in control.
And emilitoo actually not healthy enough to stick around. That's going to be Adapting's Mad Guy's Cloak. Also, Twig now looking to give chase onto the Serqet, and he's that much faster because of the Ataraxia.
Is able to lock him down, but Beads gets Adapting away. Deathbane allows him to reposition. CaptainTwig can't make him look, but Xaliea and Ataraxia have the Fire Giant pulled. They have iRaffer locked down. Adapting and emilitoo do find one kill there, but Yammyn's all alone. He falls to Xaliea and the rest of the crew as they lock him down.
Yammyn did manage to force Obey to at least reset the Fire Giant, though, so his sacrifice was not in vain. Xaliea gonna re-aggress, however, and I think emilitoo and Adapting still want to try and contest here. They're looking to buy time because emilZy has Defender of Olympus.
But they're not going to make it in time. Obey grabbed the Fire Giant, and Adapting gets dunked on by Ataraxia. Now it's up to emilitoo and emilZy, the Emils, to try and find their way out of here. CaptainTwig makes him look. Ataraxia looked for the long shots with the ultimate. He'll have the Masterful Shot when he comes out as well, but it's just not enough. Just like that, Obey are within 3,000 gold and have FG on 4 members.
And what looked like such a promising engagement as well for NRG at first. iRaffer was so far behind everybody. It looked like it was going to be a very easy pick to confirm, and then they'd be able to reset and look to push into Obey even further. But iRaffer pulling off, wrapping towards the top end of those right mid Harpies, actually forced NRG to split apart from each other. And once the team fights were separated, maniaKK couldn't control the entirety of Obey by himself. And by the time emilZy was there to respond to try and help out, then he ended up taking on just a little bit too much damage to handle. And both the frontline members were just destroyed in seconds, it felt like.
Yeah, they committed quite a bit on iRaffer to start that fight and just couldn't lock him down either. It only takes, I feel like, a few moments of waffling, and nothing extreme here from NRG, but just a little bit of indecisiveness has punished them. I think the fight around that tier 2 in middle lane comes to mind, where CaptainTwig was able to find a double kill onto Yammyn and emilitoo. That really helped out in a big way. Then on the Fire Giant, where Twig can get the tier 2 and left, and NRG don't feel comfortable in the 5v4 going for the FG. All that bought time for Obey to catch up slowly. Now, this is even, if not slightly, in Obey's favor because they have FG.
Well, Twig seems to be going for the late game here for sure, picking up that Hide the Urchin on his last item slot.
Interesting.
It is a rather interesting choice because I don't feel as though there have been a heavy amount of team fights so far, and to build up the passive, typically you want around 4 to 5 stacks to justify the item. So Obey, with this Fire Giant, this could be their chance to find those kills, and possibly even in the game before Twig even gets a chance to look towards these stacks on the Urchin.
emilZy dashes in, but can't find much more there. Obey Alliance trying to force down the tier 2, and look where Xaliea is positioned on the back end of this team fight. He can have a great impact depending on the timing that he chooses. Twig keeps Yamming and Adapting busy on the left-hand side. Xaliea rejoins the squad from the front.
Yammyn is so insanely fast with that Boomba's mask, by the way. This is just unreal. The movement speed, it feels like, from the Morrigan. And I love how Yammyn's constantly threatening being in invis there as well. Twig gonna go real deep, though, with that Sonic Boom all the way past the T2 tower, but he doesn't really find anybody of value.
Forces the beads out from emilitoo at the very least. Life for the party has emilZy locked down underneath the tier 2 tower. Looks like he does get the shell to allow him to reposition. Yammyn low on left-hand side. Adapting is stuck by Twig, and Twig blows him up right away. A big fight for Obey Alliance. The tier 2 tower still standing for now, but they turn around and grab.
Obey, though, not the healthiest team in the world here, and it looks like Yammyn's not ready to give things up just yet. iRaffer sitting so incredibly low, but NRG just don't feel comfortable pushing outside of this Phoenix range.
And I think they're right. Even if they could, it'd be such a positional commitment to try and take down just the Terra at this point as Obey Alliance fall back and sustained their way back up in this game. It feels like I blinked, and all of a sudden, this game is all Obey. They are waiting right outside the Phoenix room now to force their way in. NRG have to find a way to defend.
The fact that Twig got away with so much split push is what really killed NRG's lead here, because the T2 tower, while only 1,500 gold for Obey's pockets, it helped them finish off some very important items. Speaking of which, Xaliea looking directly for Yammyn, but the life of the party is trying to suck everybody into their grave.
But he gets stopped immediately. Twig blows him up with a little bit of help from Ataraxia. CaptainTwig is very low as well, but he's joking for his life. maniaKK finally finds a way to make it 1-for-1. Yammyn for CaptainTwig. iRaffer in some trouble as well as Adapting looks for him, but Prime sends him away with the confident Ataraxia, takes down emilitoo.
Adapting didn't even get a chance to utilize that last breath because he just got exploded by PrettyPriMe. And now, Obey, they might be able to take the first Phoenix of the game.
They absolutely have the chance. maniaKK, a lot on his shoulders. The mid-Phoenix comes tumbling down. Earth and Fury hit everybody, so maniaKK is just that much easier to kill. Prime is the one that finds him. Only emilZy, the Athena, left to defend, but it's not going to be enough. Back into the fountain, and Obey Alliance with a chance to take Game 1 over NRG Esports.
That turnaround, though, Finch, from how heavily shut down Twig was at the very start of this match to make this type of a comeback is rather impressive, because when you look at his KDA, he was 0-7 at one point in this match. So he essentially went 4-1 between mid to late game, And the fact that he was able to recover so well.
Yeah.
Obey's assistance, I'm almost baffled to believe it.
It's hard not to tell, but just look at the kills and you kind of get what we're talking about. I believe NRG were still leading in that 19-16 at the end of the game. It was that Obey found a way to catch the small moment of indecisiveness from NRG on the back end of that game. They only needed a window or two to fight their way back in, and then one more for them to start pushing down that mid lane and take the game.
I think the other issue too is that emilitoo seemed like he was trying to prioritize a crit-based build for Jing, which is usual, and that's typical of a Jing, but he realized later on that the Nike was very problematic, and I think that because he was originally going for that Poison Star, he didn't really have the items that he would have wanted, such as the Titan's Bane or the Chin Size soon enough. He did have a Chin Size by the end there, but they were just struggling to break past iRaffer and Xaliea. The two of them were just so incredibly tanky with all the health and prots they built up.
Who is your MVP there from game one? It is difficult to say. I can feel like I can name anyone. Twig obviously comes to mind right away. Prime played excellently though on the Baron. iRaffer was near unkillable on the Terra and found some great control for them in the fights. Ataraxia had great damage too. I mean, I could list everyone and you'd have something to say.
Honestly, I think that Xaliea saved that game.
Sure.
Almost single-handedly, he carried them through that early portion of the match because Twig was leeching so much farm from that solo lane XP. That's the main reason why we saw maniaKK typically leading with about a 1.5, 2 level lead over Xaliea. It wasn't just a solo kill, because Xaliea did get the lane back into his favor. He was actually pressuring out maniaKK at his own blue buff later on after that early spill, but had it not been for Twig being able to leech off of Xalia's lane so efficiently, I don't think we ever really see Obey coming back into this one the way that they did.
Obey find game one, but can they find game two? Let's get it back over to the analyst desk for their thoughts on that first game.
Thanks a lot there, Finch. Thanks a lot there, Taco. And it's Oli here to break it down with me. And as we saw that game, wow, what a turnaround. I mean, this was NRG's game 97% of the way, and then Obey just took it away.
I think the Tier 2 tower siege from NRG was a little too ambitious in the mid lane in particular. I think Adapting got overzealous on several occasions, even on the defensive front when he was trying to keep the game a little bit alive, which was uncharacteristic of what Adapting has been doing in at least the past week, where he's been the counter engager, he's been patient, allowing his other frontliners to do the job. But EmilZy kind of got countered, unfortunately, by the Chiron pick.
Yeah.
Every time he dashed in, he'll sometimes even hold on to the taunt, expecting Ataraxia to throw out the cleanse and then go for round two, but that never occurred. maniaKK on the Kuzenbo, difficult for him to really engage unless he's looking for the blink engage. And that kind of forced Adapting's hand at times.
I really liked what maniaKK was doing. I saw some good stuff coming out from there, setting up emilitoo, like you were mentioning. But ultimately, it is Obey who takes the game, and so we give MVP to the winning team, and it's CaptainTwig who winds up on top. I was looking at Ataraxia. I liked his cleanses, but the Mercury, what a carry.
This double kill in the backline. maniaKK was too far forward to help his backline, and CaptainTwig was playing the way a true assassin jungler should, waiting for his time to shine, not forcing any issues when it's unwarranted, and that's why Obey come out with a victory today.
Yeah, really nice carry there coming out from Mr. CaptainTwig. Good job in the jungle, and we'll see what happens in game number two. NRG, though, leading for the majority of game number one. Do you think that they look at this game as one oopsie daisy, or is there a whole big conversation to be had?
I think there might be a little bit to be said about the Kuzenbo pick up against this draft. The only person I like it against is the Mercury in that last game. There's like no Zeus, no Upwash that you really have to reflect that damage. Mercury's short, but he's not really going to be focusing the Kuzenbo. He's in the backline waiting for that separation where the Kuzenbo is not an actual threat. Terra was available. I thought they would go for the Terra combination alongside the Athena, would give them more team fight control, but that's not what NRG elected for.